Evening, everyone. It's been a couple of days. I've been a little bit busy with a few things that I needed to sort out, and a couple of things that I just wanted to reinforce on this build in general, within the project itself. So yeah, I'm not going to kind of go over everything that we've done so far or everything that we've put into this project already, because the previous live streams kind of do that. And yeah, it's been a couple of days since I've actually streamed, so everything's all over the place, but we move. So what I've got up at the moment is the diagram that you guys are all familiar with. I've added a few things on the left which kind of depict and kind of go through everything that I've added from a governance perspective, a few improvements I've made to the loop. I've been doing a few other things as well, just to strengthen the token utilization and budgeting. And yeah, I'll be able to kind of show you where we've gotten with that. I've got a couple of loops running in the background as well with some of the other things that we're kind of building in the background. My atlas in terms of my control room for all of my thoughts and things like that is still active. So I've managed to add a few more. Like when I say a few, it's up at 113,000 notes, conversations, journals, and things like that I've now been able to connect together. So I can now loop this into my control room to kind of show how all of the pieces connect with one another. And now I can actually follow through all of my thoughts, so I can pick up any of these moving nodes now. So they look like just artifacts on the screen, but I can click on any of them, and it would tell me all of the conversations that I've had around that. And I can then trace that all the way back to what the actual subject was that I was talking about. So this was to do with VPN performance and degradation. And then if I go to the actual node tree, all of these things are kind of VPN related, for something that I was trying to sort out and kind of figure out around VPN and network connectivity at the time. So all of that is connected. I've got a process running in the background at the moment that I'm putting together just to add recency to that. So I will quickly show that. Yes, I've got a couple of agents that are actually running through that loop using some of the principles that I've added now. And again, I'll be able to just quickly give you an overview of that diagram, and then yeah, we'll go from there. I'll continue building. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be streaming today. But yeah, we move. So the diagram, let me quickly tab back and switch screen. It always takes me a while to just reorientate myself around just moving things around OBS and whatever else, but we'll get back to it. I had to take a couple of days off. So get rid of this because we don't need it at the moment. And I'll just quickly put this back up. So I'm just going to quickly talk you through this, walk you through the diagram, and I'll be bouncing between this and the actual agents doing the work within this work frame, just so you can see it in practice. You can download the skills as well, just from my channel. All of the MD files are there for you guys to pick up if you want. Yeah. Reading some feedback. All right, cheers, Sam. Cool. So I'm just going to. Oh, okay, I see what you mean on the right hand side. Yeah, I'll fix that. Don't worry. Cool. So just to kind of go through this. So I've got my harness within Claude Code. As you guys already know, I've gone through the skills that I've built and put in there. So the plan ahead, our handoff skill, just to make sure that the context window stays down. We've got all of our hooks that are triggered on session startup as well. So obviously you've got, my build loop conductor, my look ahead, my grill me skill, the handoff, and that's again just for token utilization. It automatically compacts and summarizes all of the conversation that I've had with a particular agent, and then saves that within my temporary folder, just so that I'm not overloading the context window, not the context window, my actual project directory or repo, just so that again, once other agents are doing work within that space, I don't want them reading or having to kind of analyze or scan context or summaries of compacted sessions. Just it's a waste of time, it's a waste of token spend. So we do all of that outside of the project folder, just so that they don't have to read that and cloudy their vision and muddy their decision making. I've then got my iterative TDD skill. I've got my diagnose skill. So that's all kind of stuff that we've discussed in the previous segment. I've then got my build loop engine, which is running on 2 clocks. So a fast session, fast cron that is on session startup. That's looping every hour. I've then got a slow session as well that's looping every 3 hours. So the fast one is just more again for iterative development work, builds, the freezes, the steering, the research, and all of that sort of thing. And then on the slower items, I've got my audit sweeps, my decision making matrix on anything that's critical. So this just kind of allows me to get back into any sort of automated build that I've got going. I can kind of get back in there. Any decisions that need to be made that change the course of the direction that the build is going in, to where I want to be involved. Again, more of just for more context, more than anything else, we've got that running on the slow session. I've then got my reducer here. That's just again directing traffic left and right. And then my dispatch phase, I've got an advanced mutator. So again, that's just for changing specific scripts. And then obviously I've got my agents at the bottom there. So anything that I've got, sorry, some of these are actually new, to be fair. We didn't have the advanced mutator was there before. I've kind of already gone through this with you. It's the okay, cool. So this is what I've changed in the last couple of days. So it's these segments here, where I've just for budget utilization, I've been testing a couple of local LLMs, again just to keep that token spend down at a minimum. And again, I can now safely hand off some of the more ring-fenced and governed tasks to just Quinn 3 models, using the 8 billion token model, the 8B model. Again, that's just more for anything that's kind of like really light reasoning. There's zero cost to me. I've now wired all of this up into my harness so that my Claude agents can now actually trigger hooks into a llama to get some of the more, again, rigorous horsework done. And then that comes back into an audit gate that reviews, make sure that, there's nothing off with anything that they've done. And then that kind of goes back. So that's all of the items that are kind of happening here. I've then added this AI kit on top as a new layer as well. So with the AI kit, I'll just quickly switching back to my Claude Code here, just because I've got a couple of decisions that's waiting on me for. Cool. So again, just with anything like this, it always notifies me. I like to be in the loop in terms of some of these junctions, as I've explained to you guys before. I want to be able to understand everything that I'm building. Just again, it improves the swappability of the systems that I'm putting together. It means that if something goes wrong, or if I want to update it down the road, I can do that. And it means that every single layer of everything that I'm building at the moment, I'm fully, up to speed with what I'm actually doing. I don't need to sit there and write and understand every single line of code, but 70% of it is there. And it just allows me to kind of build this in a really, really robust way. I can stack several pieces of logic together, orchestrate it in a way that allows me to really use it any way which I want. So at the moment, what I'm working on is adding the recency matrix to my atlas. So what do I mean by recency layer? So all of these are currently just matched on a similarity matrix. So I've got a lexical data link between them. So that just means that they're using the same words are evident between each and every single conversation or node. And again, if I'd have let this do it on its own, it would have used the similarity matrix. That would have created way too many edges. And that would have just made it a nightmare in terms of weighting everything up. It would have created a lot of extra noise to what I actually want to end up using this for. Yes, it might look pretty and whatever else, but this is kind of going to be a core hub or a brain for driving a lot of my systems that I'm building for personal development, whether it be for business, whether it be for just adding layers of intelligence to other systems that I've already put together. I've now got a data set that I can kind of pretty much do anything that I want with, and it's pulling from my personal journals, it's pulling from my conversations with AI, it's pulling from my Notions notebooks, it's pulling from GPT, it's pulling from Claude, it's pulling from absolutely everywhere that I've got notes that I've then created data links I've created a data structure that allows all of that data to be ingested and then grouped in the same way so that we can tag it with all of the same kind of metrics. So we've got a rough date, we can put a title to things, and then where that data doesn't connect in the same way, I built another layer that then summarizes it and creates a title or summary, just so that all of the data is fluid throughout. I can then categorize it, which is what all of the different colors and things like that mean. So if I filter some of these out, it then becomes evident. All I'm doing at the moment is just unticking so that not everything's showing at once. So you can see that I can fully control the layers of data and what systems that I'm actually looking at any one time. But again, because of the way that the data was structured, I can still use it in exactly the same way. I can still have the same relationships between the nodes as well, which is good, so that when I start adding some of the other items and projects and sources back in, that recency still applies. So for one of my use cases for helping with like my ADHD and task prioritization, I've got another system that connects to this now, that can pull and kind of, if I ask it to, where am I, or where am I spending most of my time thinking about things, or what sort of subjects am I spending most of my time thinking about, I've got the nodes and the datas for that. I can then quantify it, say it as a percentage. This is the sort of thing I spend most of my time thinking about. Here's how I spend most of my time kind of being productive doing these sort of things. This is what interests me. So I've got a full layer that tells me everything about what I actually spend my time doing, that's documented. I can then use that to help with prioritization. I can use that to help me with just cutting out some of that noise, seeing where there's a lot of like repetition but no action. And that's kind of what I'm adding now in terms of now recency, so that's also something that we can weigh up and do something with in terms of the data. So yeah, so that's kind of what my agents are working on in the background, again using my let me just quickly switch back to this. Picking the wrong thing. Not that either. Right, cool. So this is what this frameworks is essentially just depicting. So my agents are working towards hey, how you doing, Bessie? I think the session cut off last time that you were online. My Virgin Media just cut out in my area, so apologies, because I think I was in the middle of describing what the system was doing, and then yeah, it cut off, so apologies for that. But yeah, thank you for dropping in again. Hope you're well. So where was I was explaining this AI, this Axel kit that we've got in there. So this is kind of like the request spine. So when the system needs AI to do something, every request flows through the same spine. So we get it to pick a model, call that model, record what happens, log it permanently, all in one path, no shortcuts, nothing gets untraced, and everything is actually costed. And again, that's all data that I'm gonna then add to this, so that we can then obviously just do more with it. We've got more data to play with, can represent it, and then filter it through all of the other systems that we're using to do more and more and more with. Okay, so that's what our that's what our spine is essentially doing. So what was I in the middle of? Oh, okay, that's okay, brother. Yeah, no problem, man. How are you, though? How are you? You okay? Everything good with you? So yes, I keep losing my flow. Don't know what's going on. I'm getting distracted. I'm reading way too many different things at the moment. Cool. So right, so the governance that run structured here, what is this doing? So yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. So cool. So we've changed this from just looking at Anthropics in terms of my Claude Code agents. I've also now got it looking at a HTTP layer for Llama. So that's all looking at that. It gets an injected SDK client. A Llama adapter uses the local host. allowed list, then just transport everything through it. Every call produces a task outcome with a result and a routing plan. So that's where we're getting all of the trace data and everything else like that. I can, if I was hosting this online, I'd use something else that handles all of this automatically. But because this is currently running on my local box, I'm doing all of that locally at zero cost. So yeah, it's all good. So that's how I'm currently handling trace on this. But again, all of that trace data is then going to end up in my Atlas view, and then we can ping that off towards other things that I've not shown yet on camera, just because I'm working on commercializing them and productizing them, and then yeah, hopefully once that's all done, you'll be able to see them. Yeah, so then that ends up going into the eval spine, and that's basically the judge. Yeah, so this is the judge guarded by the test that checks whether it agrees with what I'm looking for, right? So if the judge drifts, the guard catches it before anything moves downstream. So it's kind of like a barometer and a safety net. Anything that's happening at the spine level and kind of that's getting routed, our eval spine is working as basically not an authenticator. What's the best word to use here? It's like quality assurance. Yeah, it's like quality assurance. We're checking the null model is just getting promoted for vibes and whatever else. We had to hard code a lot of the model selection as well, so that everything's purpose driven. I didn't want Claude kind of having any sort of bias towards routing things to let's say Opus 4.8 set on extra high, because originally when I'd done this and put it in and kind of just got it to create me an eval spine, it did it using that weighting by default. And by default, having Claude set to extra high automatically before you've even run a task through it or prompted it, your token your context window starting at 60k by default. So I didn't want that happening. There's only specific tasks, and again there's an exception, and this is all set in my Claude.json, as well as my I think it's my slice, it's in my slice py. So that's where all of that's being kind of handled at the moment. So yeah, so that's that particular layer. And then at the end, obviously I've got my cost breaker, I've got my egress, I've got my verifier, fresh context, anti-hallucination tools, I've got my my PyHam by ref. So what this is actually doing, so if anyone's in the UK and building systems, especially not even just in the UK, if your system's touching anything in Europe, you've got to be GDPR compliant. I don't know if GDPR's global, I'm not sure, but I know definitely within Europe everything has to be GDPR compliant. And what this is doing is anything that I'm doing data wise, I've got this set up so that I'm not storing anything at any sort of hash or hashing anything that's personal identifiable information. So anything like phone numbers, names, date of birth, social security, anything like that, where someone can be identified based off the data that I've got. I can't store that in a hash because it becomes something that I can't delete on demand or delete easily. And then that means that any system that's built with data storage happening in that format, it means that, yeah, you're not GDPR compliant. So if anyone, asks to be removed from your system, if anyone's what's it called? If anyone asks to be removed from your system and you've not got one of these, or if you've not got that in mind, you're screwed, because you can't give evidence or proof of deletion of their information from your system. And with a lot of things that I'm putting together, where they are pulling on government data, they are pulling on personal information, in terms of like names of directors, email addresses, and that sort of thing. Hopefully, obviously, no one reaches out and says, can you remove me? But you have to have that option in there with anything that you're doing. Otherwise, your data structure is not, like, you're basically screwed. So I've got that in there just as a safety net as well. And that means that if I take a product to an organization, that's a selling point in terms of that just data retention piece, and it just shows good DSA. So that's in there. Yeah, so, and then obviously got a quick cost table at the bottom. What I'm using to enforce these down the right hand side, so you can see some of the self-edit denies. These are things that I spoke about several streams ago. All of this governance is being done at loop within the loop. So there are several gates and JSON files that are driving at what intervals things are being checked. So an agent can't do a task and then test itself on the task that is being done. There are extremely hard edit rules on specific files, like my spec.mds, my setting files, my JSON, anything that's routing related, where I don't want a change to be able to be made unless it's from me physically making that change. So even if I prompt my agent to change a specific file, it cannot do that, because there are about 3 or 4 other agents that are ring fencing and 3 or 4 other scripts that are ring fencing and governing each of these specific files, so that it just doesn't allow anything to be tweaked. And again, it's not to just bypass or put it kind of just for a safety feature just for the sake of it. When I used to just try and prompt my way through things, if I got bored of trying to do it the long way around, and I'd just say, Claude, can you finish such and such task? Or when I was using Cursor quite heavily, and I tried to get it just to complete a task for me, it would go off. And obviously, before I was doing any sort of extreme or comprehensive, token management or context management, it would end up just changing. It would change the test or the validation of the work that it's done, and say that it's done it. And it's not until you actually look or you try and use the thing that it says that it's finished building that you'll actually realize that it's not been done. And when you end up prompting it and saying, well, this isn't done. Oh yeah, sorry. Actually, yeah, you're right. It's not done. What I did was this instead, because that failed. So these are the things that kind of, again, help me with the iterative layers of my loops, so that the agent will keep going and going. There's no way of them cheating the system or getting out of completing the work. And again, having these as set to not edit means that they can't wriggle their way out of a loop. Got sending fences in there, permission allows, TDD hook gates, pre-submit session hooks, loop cron rearms, and again, these are all hooks on session start. These are running things like my handoff helper.py. So again, that's just helping with content context window calculations as well. So if I quickly switch back to my Claude Code window, you'll be able to see shortly. Let me see how far in we're at. So while it's working away at this, I'll be able to show you, or let me see if I've got it on another window. All right, cool. So let me it should do it in a moment with this particular window. We're at 179k, so it's due to tell me at the end of this that the token utilization is too high, and then it will propose doing a handoff, and then all of that is running from my handoff.py, and that's what governs that. So then at least when I start the next session, I'll be able to freeze. So yeah, so those are all of the hook.help, sorry, the handoff helpers, and they are all available on my GitHub as well, so you can download those, import those into your projects. The link for that is in my channel link. There is a channel link to my GitHub repo, and the skill is in there along with the Pi helper. I'm sure if it's not, DM me on Instagram or something, I'll upload it, or send you a link to it, either one. Cool, so that's working away at that. This is just a sweep for something else that I'm doing. I actually want to trigger a new loop just to show you what that looks like. So I've got a few things here that are awaiting my input, just so that, yeah, you can see all of these things where the longer session has got park decisions that are waiting for me to actually input. It still managed to carry on with whatever it was doing, but as soon as I go back to any of these and change from what it did as recommended, because of the way that the branch architecture and the branch slice architecture is set up, it can always go back to any branch that's not committed, and then we can kind of veer off in another direction. So it'll keep building along, but not in a way that kind of creates a massive blast radius in terms of trying to go back and redeem ourselves. So what I want to do now, just to show you this loop in practice, is I'm going to go into my one of the projects that I'm working on. So I'm gonna just quickly pop start. I could talk my prompts into this, but because I'm talking to you guys and it's corny, I don't really want to sit here and do voice prompting. Right, so it's not autonomous. I'm getting it to do it on a fast tick. I've kept the prompt fairly simple. Basically start an autonomous loop from where we left off with this particular project, and do it on a fast tick. That just means that if you get to the end of the task and everything's tested, don't wait for the rest of the time to elapse. So let's say, for example, with my fast cron that's set to run, I think it's 11 past the hour every hour. I don't want that to so I don't want it to sit there dormant for 40 minutes if it's done a particular slice within 20 minutes. I want it to just trigger the next tick or go to the next slice of work on demand. So cool. So it's just picking up that there were two subsequent branches that I was working on at the same time within this. So it's just figuring out where I left off with things. It's asking the reducer, and now it started the research arm. I can tick this, and you can see here at the top I've got my fast loop has been triggered, and that's set to expire in 33 minutes, but it's running at every hour at 11 minutes past the hour. And then I've got my slow session that's running on a 4-hour loop. Every 3 hours at 47 minutes past the hour. And then so the slower loop is picking up things like audits. It's picking up anything that requires me to step into the loop and make a critical decision that is going to impact the direction of the project in a major way. So I've got all of that set up in that way. You can see here that the research resolve fork inbox write safely, whatever, that's been triggered, and that should now be using or part of that process now should be using my lower cost models, and it should be triggering, sorry, not my lower cost models, not for research. I think it was my the reduce already run, sorry, just to point this at research. That bit's done by the local Queen 3 model. Research is done using an Opus 4.8 model on a medium setting, and that's plugged into my Perplexity MCP. And again, that's just using my Perplexity Pro account to do all of the research around the next body of work. And how this is working is per slice. What are you building? Oh, there's a lot of things that I'm building, brother. But at the moment, I'm just still doing my data structure. I'm still strengthening my data structure for that's feeding into this at the moment. You might have seen this hanging around. A lot of people have been doing something similar within Obsidian, but because of the number of edges and what I actually want to do with relationship matrix between all of these data points is it's a larger data set. So I'm using something bespoke. So we ended up building this first, just so that it can take in all of the conversations that I've had with AI, all of my Notion notes, all of my ChatGPT conversations, all of my journal entries, all of my notes from my desktop of things that I want to do, things I want to get done. And then we built data around it that helped. So I built all of the relationship matrices and weighted them, so everything's slightly different color, slightly different size, and then also slightly different distance in terms of how far I have to zoom in to actually get to a node. And then I can now see where everything's connected, what it relates to. And then I'm adding all of the token utilization, the links to it, the completion, everything like that. And then where there's relevance between different things. So then I can feed all of my AI systems that I'm kind of building, or anything else that I've built on top, because they all still can utilize the data set for intelligence. So for things like my personal or operating system that I'm working on in the background. It helps me with like task prioritization. So it can show me that, what, Clay, you've been working on or thinking about the same thing for the last 3 months, but you're only going 3 steps into ideation, and then you're dropping it to go and start working on something else. But this is important. Can you focus on it? So it's now, that's what I'm still working on now. I'm still building all of the data points that are going to help me build that narrative, so that I've got all my other systems that can still talk to me and prompt all of these things out of me. But then also for my monitoring, for my AI, I can still see all of my costing and how much things are costing me to actually do. There's a lot that I can do. I don't want to sit here and talk about everything, because some of it is private. Some of it is things that I'm working on to actually commercialize and make products out of. So I won't reveal all, but yeah, just to answer your question as to what I'm actually working on. So I've built my own version of what a few people within the space have been doing within Obsidian, but this much data doesn't fit in Obsidian. You can't do it in Obsidian. So so this is like my control center for everything that I think about, everything that I do. I've got it in one place, and then from that I'm still doing like things like recency and adding I've probably got another day or 2 left for the data structure building, and then the rest of it is probably going to take me probably about a week just to start plugging it into all of my other systems, and then I'm done. I don't really need to touch this again, unless I need to kind of like create a new narrative or add a new data point later on. But for the most part, all of the foundations are built for it now. Sorry, where was I? So just close that down. Just quickly check back on this. Cool. So this is now working away through that loop for the next slice of work. I'm not going to need to touch that. Which technologies do I use? I use several. So I've got Claude Code, obviously. I've got Claude Code subscription. I've got a GPT subscription. Perplexity for all my research. What else do I use? I use a couple of local models. I use quite a lot of like programs for 3D modeling, Python. I use Cursor on and off. So at the moment, like this, I'm working within Claude Code. When I actually need to sit there and do a bit more hands holding with the code, I usually sit there and do this in Cursor. The only reason I'm not in Cursor today is because the way that my session handover works, it's better to actually be in Claude Code directly in terms of how I've set that skill up to do handoffs. There's no way to systematically get a session to close within Cursor without using a Windows scheduled task. And I was like, no, that's too much to build all of that, because I don't need to be in front of the code. If I'm building something that's autonomous, that's running on a loop, I don't need to sit there, within Cursor and babysit it, and then use up resource on my PC just for closing a session and starting a new one when the token utilization gets too high. So yeah, so for this I'm using Claude Code most of the time. Sorry, no, Cursor most of the time, and I've got Claude Code plugged into it. I've got Perplexity plugged in, Codex plugged into all of that as well. What else do I use in my stack? I've got Matt Pro lib. I use Jupyter here and there for Python and kind of modeling things out, again, just to see how certain things will look. So a lot of the time before before my control room that I just showed you with all the nodes, before that became a thing. I was testing that within Jupyter, so that was that. And yeah, that's essentially it. I was using Obsidian as well for my note making, and this project originally did start in Obsidian, so I'll actually get that up on the screen as well, just so that you can see the limitations and the issues that I actually faced with that thing. So you can see it now. So this is this similar data set represented in Obsidian, but it starts to crash. And I think this is the system that you'll see most people doing this whole like node tree thing in. But as soon as I try and interact with it now, and it's not pulled in or ingested, this is crashed now. I'm trying to zoom in, I'm trying to click around, it's not working. So yeah, it's not ideal. So you can see it's taken forever to just go in. So that's what most people are using to do nodes and things like that. But for me, I've achieved like a lot better granularity not doing it within Obsidian. I started, as I said, the project was started off in Obsidian, but I've got a lot more data outside of Obsidian, building it myself. I've got full control of it. I don't have to worry about putting a product on top of this that relies on Obsidian to actually run and make it work. So for a lot of people that are having the whole brain or knowledge-based setup that are trying to productize it, it's a bit silly like locking that in to a system like Obsidian, because how are you then going to go and sell? Yeah, you can't handle your use case that much. Yeah, exactly. It'll crash their servers, and then it's also crashing my machine because I'm trying to stream, and then at the same time I can't even move around or even see where to start. Whereas this is extremely lightweight. I can filter things out, focus on a single project if I want to, and it's all seamless, and it's got probably about 10 to 100 times the data that was in Obsidian, and it's just handling it super smooth with similar functionality without all of the whole rendering dynamics and the force field that makes it look pretty. But I don't need that for my use case, as you said, Big Stepper. So yeah, so that's essentially where we're at with it. And again, this makes it a lot easier for all my other systems to actually plug in, because in the back end, this is all just data sitting on the database. So if I need to pull it into something else, I don't need to point it at this. I just point it at the database, and all of the data points and the data structure is already there for me to just plug into and then use it and represent it how I want. But then the other good thing about having this setup and this kind of like control room view where I can see the actual nodes as well, it means that, I don't know if anyone's kind of studied what's it called, not geometry, similar to geometry, but the word's gone, about plotting. But anyway, data plotting, right? It means that with these structures now, I can actually, let's say this shape, make that shape now represent something new in its entirety, and then I can store that as one entry or input within a data table as well, and that can just mean something. So it allows me to actually connect a lot more data points, a lot more connections, and communicate that data to mean anything that I want now. Which again is something that you can't do out of the box in Obsidian. So yeah, just to kind of go the long way around about explaining what I was doing. So yeah, where were we? So I'll just quickly go back to this just to check where this is at. So this is still running. It's done the plan. It's actually come to the grill me section. What's the grill me section? So this is, again, if any of you followed Matt Pocock or any of the AI engineers out there that are worth following, Grill Me is essentially like a peer review, not a peer review, sorry, an alignment for clarity, where my model will now ask me specific questions in terms of what I want, what I'm actually trying to achieve, just so that we're aligned on what we're building. So it's asking me here, do I want to adopt the plan, draft contracts, X, Y, and Z, and whatever else. So I can now select and pick from the options. It's kind of like, it's giving me not a questionnaire, but I'm just going to drag this down so you can see. So it's giving me a set of several questions that I can kind of go through just to guide where we're going. And those are the sort of inputs. Again, the Grill Me is a skill that's on there. It's a slightly customized one that I've got plugged. I've run it for a very long time. Are you using the yeah there are several agents running. No, wait, hang on. No, they've not been running for a long time. They've not been running for a long time. I don't know if you're looking, if you're talking about the item on the top. This is just a cron, which is basically like a scheduled task that's just running on repeat. So every hour it triggers the same action, and this is running as a Python script. It's not an agent that's running, it's a script that's running that just triggers my tasks to run on the hour, every hour. And then the second one is my slow tick that's running the same tasks in terms of the agent that's going to go and sweep and do an audit on all of the code base to make sure that everything that the agents have been doing is aligned to the spec. And then the fast loop is just where all of the irritative agents are triggered. So the ones for research, the ones for grilling me, any agents that need to kind of like do skills on repeat, that most of us find. So let me just pull this back up just so it helps explain it a bit. We can explain it a bit easier if I show you this. So is this? Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I've got that running on a 2-speed loop. So the fast loop is running on the hour just for the initial repetitive tasks that I need to do, and then the second loop is running on a 3-hour cycle, and that's just doing a sweep periodically, like every 2 slices of work that are complete, like vertical slices of work that are complete and committed, it would do a sweep of that code base, make sure that everything's committed, make sure that everything's is actually where it's supposed to be, make sure that all of the committed code and project directive is within the spec, and then it will flag to me if there's anything that's out of line. It's just for governance. And then in terms of the slower tasks, that's where all of the things like the handoff, the TDD stuff, the builder, the Grill Me, and any other agents that need to run at a faster pace, they run within that. Anything that's doing any of the building, the research, all of that runs within that first session. So it's just so that there's an overlap, but no, they're not agents. It's just a cron job. Right, where was I? It always distracts me when I've got to answer a question. I hear AI agents and I start thinking about credential security, building and researching solution to this problem. How do you secure your credentials, API keys especially? So with everything like this, obviously you can store them in .m file so that they're not committed to your Git. With most of the stuff that I'm building, I'll use placeholders. I'll store credentials elsewhere. I'd actually open a window so that we can store them in passkeys as well. So for example, I've got a, not an agent, I've got an MCP. I don't know what's asking me questions and my mouth is like running, like my brain is running at one speed, my mouth wants to run at a different speed. Pause. But no, so I'm using crypto encryption on my Perplexity credentials and my authentication in terms of keeping that active for my sessions. I was using a passkey before, but that kept failing. And again, with everything .env, keep it completely off, being committed to any branches or Git. And then you can also I said no pressure. No, it's all good. And then what I would also suggest as well is just having another agent, even if it's like offline, just doing a sweep for security, just in terms of best practice. I'll tell you why. There was a couple of months ago, I want to say a couple of months ago, I was working within Cursor, and the exact same thing that you're describing happened to me. I was I had a Google, there was a Google API key or secret key that I'd actually put into a file that was committed, even though it was in a directory that was supposed to be ignored. That wasn't honored, and it wasn't until I'd run an audit sweep and it revealed that all of the files that were supposed to be getting ignored were still being committed to my repo. So yeah, so I think explore different types of encryption, not just one, not just like, not just putting things in a .env and thinking that's the best way to do it. You can use encryption. I'll not show you like that, but let me just quickly check in how I ring fenced my my Perplexity credentials, because for some of these things you can actually open up a headless browser, or even a browser session, log into whatever you need to log into, and then encrypt it that way, as a using a passkey and whatever else. You can try that. So just give me a sec. I just want to just verify, because there was a way that I was doing it for my Perplexity details, because I didn't want to have to log in between sessions and everything like that. I just wanted it to just work, so that even if I'm running my research skill and hook on a loop, I didn't want that token to expire at any time, but obviously I needed to keep it secure. And the good thing is most of my systems, as I said, they're all offline based up until I'm ready, and then I've got to do all of that smoke test and security hardening and whatnot. But just give me a second, I'm just checking how exactly we've encrypted it for the Perplexity credentials. Decouples credentials from the agent and uses a proxy. The problem now moves from fair enough. Yeah, have you posted anything on your channel, Big Stepper? You should check out my project. It decouples credentials from the agent runtime and uses proxy. The problem now moves from just secure storage to governed use. How would you approach that? Is that something that you can kind of dictate in your project setting, .json, and just allocate not specific agents? It just depends what what you're going to be using it for, in terms of those credentials, if it's a specific task and whatnot. But just give me a sec, because I want to just quickly verify how we were doing it. In fact, I'm here being silly trying to search for it. Let me just quickly ask my agent how we ended up fixing this issue, because I had a similar issue with my Perplexity credentials. I was there looking through all of my code and stuff like that. I was like, it's quicker just to ask. But maybe it's worth me changing what screen's on show, just in case it flags anything silly on my screen. So let's put that up until we've got an answer from the big guy, Claude. Right. Can you tell me? Yeah, I was asking, Big Stepper, how are you? Sorry, do you post on your channel? Yeah, cool. So we've got the answers back. So how am I going to check out your project? Yeah, see, I knew I wasn't tripping. I was there, man. I'm not going to look. I was about to look like an idiot on stream, even though I sit here and I preach about how much I try and get involved in every single decision and every single layer of this thing being built. So yeah, as I said, we started off as a passphrase encryption within keychain, and then we moved to a vault, and then so so yeah, vault keychain sealed, snapshots taken and show Windows credentials on it. So yeah, so then the previously we were using a crypto or cryptographic passphrase, and that was saved as a Perplexity Vault passphrase env variable, and then it's now moved to the OS's keychain, and then we access it that way based off of a timestamp, and then that just means that Windows holds all of the credentials. We just access it that way. To answer your question, let's check where we got to with this. All right, search agentic Google. Let me search you up. The OS keychain. Is it the 17? Is that you? Ah. Oh, nice. Nice. And it's so crazy. I literally scrolled, and my first scroll got straight to your injection layer for the Stripe key. We're just talking about proxy and everything else like that. Yeah, nice. Nice. I'm gonna giving you a follow on. Wait, sorry, I'm pretty sure I just saw a link to your Git. Yeah, I've given you a follow on GitHub as well. Right, I need to try and just make a progress on this. A little bit of progress on this. Right, where are we? What do you mean to make you cry? I'll give you a follow, man. Let's give you. You're quite active on there as well, which is good. Nice. How do you find it using Django? I've not seen anyone using Django in a while. How are you finding using Django in general? Well, that's running. And now kick off continuation on another project as well, which is nice. Yeah, it's not common that you see people that are still using Django. I've not seen someone using Django for a few years. And you do quite a lot of ecom builds as well, right? How are you building any kind of like AI products? Have you got any projects centered around retail? clients, yes, but mostly just build APIs and stuff. Oh, okay. But it's good, man. There's no such thing. You're as good as you're as good as how fast you learn. Really, there are people. This AI space is only what a few years old, really, depending on when you got into it. So never consider yourself a newbie, and because as well the retail industry is changing so much. Because back when I started in that space, we were using like WordPress, WooCommerce, and then like I tried to go into learning Magenta, but again, that was really back then as well. I don't know, I've not really looked at what's happening now. But that was really reserved for the more big e-commerce platforms where they were using Magenta, but small clients and doing things freelance, WordPress was enough. And then obviously Shopify came on the scene and everyone wanted Shopify, which obviously it offered less customizability than WordPress, but it was the biggest selling platform, and it was easy for people to kind of just get going and have something that they can sell their products on quick time. But yeah, not Magenta. Django is one that I've never even looked into that. Cool. Yeah, no, 100%. It's literally just about adaptability. If you can pick something up, stick at it, just be consistent. It's just about how many hours that you actually put in. Yeah. Because now with this stuff that I'm just doing with AI now, I sit and think sometimes like, yeah, like what direction do I want to go in? But then even just those questions end up feeding some of the projects that I end up building. A lot of it I don't show on here. So you see me working on a project and making random prompts, but I try and fix it in a way that, yeah, you can see the technicality behind what I'm doing and I'm explaining my reasoning and why I'm putting things in a certain way. But in terms of the actual context of what am I building it to really do, what am I building it to really connect into, I feel like because there's a lot of noise out there, and it's so easy to just get started with building, everyone's rushing to try and just get something out, but I'm trying to take my time a lot more with being able to ship something that's usable, number one, not just for myself, an element of being able to ship it and send it to market, being able to have it so that it's future proofed, being able to have it so that it's not just appealing for me. The use case around what it's actually doing is something that appeals to several people. Is it secure? Is it something that's going to fit in a corporate setting? Is there a need for it? right now in terms of like market gap and everything like that. So that's kind of like the direction that I'm going in with my building, just trying to slow things down and stop just, we've got so much power at our hands, so that there's no, like, you see that gap that you were talking about, Big Stepper, it's not about how much time you've spent in the game anymore. It's about like how do you position yourself? Everyone's trying, yeah, exactly. Everyone's trying to be the next big thing, actually, and not taking time to ensure the longevity of a product. Yeah, exactly that, right? So even in some of the things that I'll show online here, it's like not 20%. I'm not doing you guys that much of a disservice. Lately I've been going into security because of agentic secrets, credential security. Yep. Really under dev. Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. And with more and more of these apps being released, and again, you've come up from tech, I can see from your GitHub that you've got an extensive development track record in terms of the stuff that you're doing is quite secure. You've got like an infrastructure baseline, you've got a retail web development, so you know a lot of these things that you have to plug into it. Whereas you have, and I see it all the time just in the corporate setting as well, you have people that are using AI, and it's like they'll get an idea of, okay, this is what I want the product to do, and then they'll just prompt it to do that. But then there's no thought about, okay, have you thought about scalability at this stage? Have you thought about the portability of your actual product? Can it go in and fit into any application? Is it something that you've got full control over the security? And the point that I raised earlier about even just something like as simple as data protection regulations. Whereas these are all things that I've been trying to build into not it as in like one system, but all systems that I'm building, I'm making sure that every single spec, every single spine, every single spec sheet, every single PRD has all of these things built in. And even, let's say for example, I've talked to you guys about the look ahead skill. I've not sat here and explained to you that for every single project, there's a new layer that I've got called the Axo AI kit. And that's looking at things like the marketability of my projects. So when it's doing my the grilling session and asking me things, it's asking it from a position of, okay, I've gone and consulted Perplexity, I've done this search on Perplexity, but the way that it's positioned and the way that that particular skill and the hook is written to ask me the questions is based off of the market fitment, the geopolitics, all of these other metrics that I'm not going to sit here and talk about today because I'm still finding that sweet spot. But all of these things are considered so that when it actually comes back to me and I can answer these questions and it shapes the project and the direction that the project's going in, it's never just because, oh, it's building something that I've asked for and that I want. There's consideration for what people want. There's consideration for what the market demand is for something. There's consideration for all of these other metrics. So you have to try and look at it in that way. And I'm looking at it from a market, but for your stuff, Stepper, you're looking at it from a security aspect. You're looking at it from a that means that, you know, some of your projects might be appealing for corporate, for banks. I'm guessing you based in Nigeria, the banks over there, you know, you can create projects for government contracts, right? Because these are all the things that you can now leverage when you're negotiating or when you're pitching your project. rather than it just being a thing of, oh, look at this shiny project that I've got that does X, Y, and Z. So yeah, man, it's a very congested space, but I think with the way things are going, with the costs of basically, it's turning into pay to play. So you will see people that are using AI and being still trivial. There's so many people that still, you know, I'll laugh. I don't really want to put my wife on blast, but so I'll give a slightly different example. Someone quite recently, we were talking about just AI in general, and when I talk about AI with people in public, it's just this one of those conversations where I get triggered quite easily. So they were talking and giving me their opinion and stuff like that, and they were like, yeah, I'm a really powerful user, as in they were a really powerful user of AI. They've got 2 accounts, ChatGPT, Claude, and mind you, like, this is someone I see their prompts, I see what they put into their chats, and I'm thinking, like, this person doesn't use skills, they don't use other tools, as in, like, you know, they wouldn't know what an MCP is, they wouldn't know even like co-work, they wouldn't know how to prompt an agent, how to create an agentic loop. But because they use AI to create graphics, all of a sudden they're experts because they're using it to promote their business. So there's still like such a wide window and a wide barometer in terms of people's AI usage, the adoption of it. You know, when you mention AI, people think ChatGPT, they think Claude Chat, and that's as far as their exposure is. You know what I mean? People don't Google anymore. I've not heard many people say, can you Google that? It's now turned into Ask ChatGPT. They're using AI to search. Yeah. And some people I know personally pay like the basic subscription for GPT, and they just use it as a chat and email cleanup. That's it. Right. But they'll be like, I'm a powerful AI user. So there's a lot of room in either direction, in my opinion. Cool. So I wanted just to quickly capture this moment, because I was speaking about handoffs earlier. What did you say, Stepper? Oh wow, that's actually strategic market research based decisions is way better than blindly trusting instinct, because limbs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's bias. And even like when I was building my cost modeling, I couldn't write it and get Claude to benchmark it. I had to write it for Claude and get OpenAI to benchmark the stats for Claude. Same thing for when I was doing it for the Codex agent. I had to do that in GPT, and then for the LLM costs, I had to do that in Perplexity. And for the ones for Perplexity, I had to do them somewhere else, just so that I had a consensus that wasn't biased, and then get each of them to peer review the final product and then wean out all of the noise, because all of them, like, there's so much bias. And that's, I mentioned it a little while ago as well. There's even just something as simple as costing, like everything. If you give the AI the autonomy to kind of go through and decide for you, it will put a markup on things. It will promote its product more than everything else. And yeah, it's just not the way, man. Yeah, I noticed that too. I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and I figured I have to do a lot of educating on credential safety because it's quite negligent. Yeah. And the difference an understanding of AI is alarming and people just use GPT. Yeah, exactly. It's like you notice, yeah. But I do want to harden, the security approach, because a lot of these things, yes, they're secure in my own environment, but even with the credential usage and how things are authenticated, I want to harden those layers. With a lot of my systems where the systems that I'm building, again, the ones that are productized, the ones that I'm building for corporate, they're all within a corporate network. So on a Linux server, you have to be on a VPN to connect to it, and then the authentication is done through an OAuth, so for Office authentication via Windows. So again, that's all sealed. No one's having to log in with their credentials directly on the platform. It's all triggered by a headless prompt that pops up, log in, or even what's it called? Not single sign-on. The other one I'm looking for. General, so SAML authentication. And most of the systems that I've built are that way inclined. The ones where, yes, you're going to need an account for, again, that's where I'm going to have to obviously do a lot more proper ring fencing with regards to how all of those details are stored, how they're routed, how the data's getting to the database and things like that. At the moment, AI leaves the local environment. It's prone to a wide range of attacks. I noticed that you really put a lot of thought into that. Yeah, well, this is it. And a lot of these systems as well that I'm building, Stepper, they're quite flat. In terms of like the level where, yes, I'm using quite a lot of AI to build the systems out themselves, but the actual functionality relies less on agents and more on actual scripts, just so that it's repeatable. Because obviously once they go to production, and a lot of the things that I have built, they're not really the intelligence layer is quite specific. So again, that wouldn't be somewhere where it's credential facing. So it's just about how you ring fence all of those important files, how you actually segregate it so that the AI is actually called directly within a contained environment. It gives its response. The response is rooted in a way where it just pings to a database or whatever, and to wherever it needs to then be rendered on a front end, rather than having it run loose with within the actual within the actual core base of the application itself. So whether it be this is all just Python scripts. Nothing. The AI doesn't touch any of this, but it can call a specific folder, a specific database that's got all of these data points on it, and then that can then connect to another Python script with regards to the aggregation of that data, that's telling it, okay, if it's connected to this, these are the data points, this is what this means. So it never has to really, it's not the main part. The intelligence isn't the main part of any of the systems. It's just sitting on top of the data structure that it can then just reference just the data structure. Anything below that, anything credentials based, all of that, pass keys. You've got the crypto option as well, just to encrypt all of your credentials, so that it never has access to looking at any of those. But yeah, I'm gonna have a good read of your blog as well, when I get the chance to, Stepper, because as I said, all I did was scroll down a little bit, and I could see quite a lot of useful routing, just for regards to API and how to actually be yeah, because this this is it, because you don't, like, especially like when you've got all of the, you can create all of the data sets to do all of the heavy lifting, because what you don't want is AI doing a lot of the heavy lifting of the data and moving it here and manipulating it and understanding it. If I can do all of that calculation and have it as something that sits as a pre-positioned set of nodes and data, and then it's a really light layer of AI that's just basically interpreting all of that stuff that's already been calculating, it makes the AI look more clever than it is, but then it also makes the whole system safe. And that's always been my approach with a lot of the things that I'm building. You see people that are just like, okay, but how are you going to scale that? You get it? Because if you imagine, like, every single time the AI was having to walk around and, like, I'm asking it, oh, can you tell me X, Y, and Z? And it's just scraping through 130,000 edges to find patterns. We're living in a world and a time where people don't have that attention span or the patience to wait to get responses. Do you know what I mean? For that. And then how many tokens are you burning just to ingest and make those calculations, right? So I try and do all of this within Python, other tech, get all of that ingested and ready so that it's just a single data point, and we're again removing the room for error. Exactly. 3 seconds is too long for someone to wait. And then also on top of that, like, think about the bandwidth. This is the other thing, which you obviously coming up from the web world. If you think about the bandwidth of all of that information traveling back and forth, if it's having to do all of those calculations every time. Now imagine a thousand users would break the system. 100,000 users, what's that going to do in terms of your web resource costs, right? So you have to think about all of these things and really have the system set up in a way where the data structure and the system architecture is engineered in a way where you're thinking about scaling, where you're thinking about speed, where you're thinking about caching, where you're thinking about the security, where you're thinking about the data, where you think about storage, where you're thinking about backups, and again, where you're thinking about updating. How are you going to maintain things? How is the backup? How is the maintenance? Sorry, the updating workflow gonna go? So there's all these other considerations that come before, way before the actual AI is integrated, way before you think of an idea, and you're trying to ship it and one shot and build something that you're gonna take to market within 1 week. There's a lot that goes into it. Man. Right, where was I? Just want to quickly commit this. Cool. So this agent's been running for, so true. So make the brain do less thinking, therefore making effective decisions. Exactly right. Yeah, man. Right, but yeah, I can hear my daughter crying, and I'm a bit tired. It's been a long day at work today, so I am gonna call it a night here, and then I'll pick this up tomorrow. All of these, I'm gonna set probably about 2 more tasks for it to do, on a few other projects, that's just to advance them, and then I'll be online again tomorrow for Friday evening stream, where we can kind of do a wrap up of what we achieved this week, where we've progressed things, and yeah, tune in next time, man. But yes, Mr. Stepper, thank you so much for tuning in and keeping me company this evening. I appreciate you. As I said, I've given you a follow on your Git, and I'll look through your post as well, on security, because I think I'll be able to. I want to, pick out a couple of gems, and I'll definitely give you a shout out for some of that, because I've seen some good content that you've dropped on your dev page as well. So yeah, man, thank you so much. All right, man. But yeah, catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bless.